All right, hi everybody, and welcome. We're going to give it a minute here, just to make sure the stream is working and everything. Hope you are all well. Welcome to my dining room slash office. If you can't hear me or if things look weird, let me know in the chat, and I will fix it. Otherwise, a couple more seconds and we'll get going here. Max thinks I should have a roaring fireplace and a glass of scotch. The fireplace behind me doesn't work, and I don't really drink hard liquor, so probably not a good idea for either one of those things, but we'll see. So today, what I thought I could do is a 2023 Pittsburgh Modular Roundup, and also maybe talk a little bit about what we have coming up in 2024. Kind of some fun stuff to look forward to. And then at the end, I can go ahead and if you guys have any questions or anything, I'll be happy to answer some questions. I have a little outline here, so hopefully I can hit all the topics that I wanted to talk about today. Starting first with, Michael did want to be here for this. He is out of town. He's not going to be back for a couple more days, but he sends his hellos to everybody, and hopefully, if we do another one of these next year, he will join us for that. So to start off 2023, we really started off with Taiga. Taiga is the first full synthesizer that we launched with this creative partnership with Create Audio. And it's the first Pittsburgh Modular Synthesizer that we've put out since, I guess, the Voltage Lab 2. We did do the SV1B, but that wasn't a whole lot of difference or a lot of changes. So I think the first real synthesizer we've done, full synthesizer we've done since the Voltage Lab. So it had been almost 4 years since we had done anything. So it felt really good to get it out there. And the feedback has been fantastic. We've got a lot of really positive feedback about how it sounds, the workflow that you get from it, and what you can do with it, which is amazing, because it really is a very interesting instrument that I keep finding new spots in, new sounds here and there, and I enjoy using it almost every day, which is nice. We did and this, when I was going through and looking through what we did this past year, I was really surprised at this. For some reason, I thought we had released more than one module, but we only released one module this year, and that was the Toad, which is crazy to me. I thought the Okapi mixers and the Koi malt were part of this year, but I guess they were about November last year. So we released the Toad as our one module this year. And again, the response has been really good. I am so excited to have an 8 HP phase shifter, because I've had the Pittsburgh Modular phase shifter, the original module, which was huge. I've had that in and out of my case for years, but it was so big that anytime I go down to like a 208 style case to take to Herman's or to take to a gig, it just takes up too much space. So the Toad is perfect. It's 8 HP. It sounds phenomenal. And 12-stage analog phase shifter. It's really gummy. And it was nice to get out there. Also, I think the coolest panel I've ever done. It makes me happy every time I look at it. Definitely my favorite panel that I've ever done. So that's the modules we did. I guess the list is pretty short so far. Talking about the structure line of cases. Working with Justin, who is our sort of case guru, he has been killing it with new designs. So in 2023, we had 3 new cases. We had the 744 and then the 372 was sort of a modified bottom half of the 744. We finally figured out how to ship bigger cases, so we were able to do a case as large as the 744. And now that we've added cherry hardwood as an option for that case as well, it really, really is a stunning case. My favorite case that we've done so far. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And we also then later in the year introduced the 420 core, which is a 420 HP rectangle. We tried to make it skinny. It does sit right on top of the 420. So we sell brackets to mount the 420 and the 420 core together. You can also get the 420 core unfinished. So if you have a stain or a paint or some other way you want to finish it yourself, it's there. And the response to that has been good as well. All of our cases, they sort of, because we have Justin making everything by hand, they kind of sell as fast as we can make them, which is nice. And I think we have a really, really nice lineup of incredibly high quality cases made in the basement of our shop. We have Justin, I should say, has a wood shop down there where he does everything. And all we do is take the work he does, box it up, and ship it out. So thank you, Justin, for another year of nice case work. Moving on to the next thing, the live streams. This would be the every other-ish Wednesday live streams that I do with Herman and Bus Crates. This year, in 2023, Bus Crates joined the team. So that made me very, very happy. I think he's just an unbelievably nice person, but he also balances me and Herman out really well. And he adds something to the live streams that Herman and I didn't have. So that third piece of the puzzle really completed. Herman then dubbed us, once Bus came on board, Herman dubbed us the Synth Sentinels. So that is our band name. It's weird. I haven't really been in a band since, I don't know, college. So it's kind of fun. We do have another live stream this coming Wednesday, January 3rd, where I think Herman said he had something, I don't know. But it'll be fun. I will have my 208 filled with lots of fun modules. So related to that sort of is the work that I've been doing myself. At richardnicol.bandcamp.com is where I put all my music. Last year I put up 3, I guess, EPs. They're not full albums, but 3 EPs. So if you've ever wondered what kind of music I make with the synthesizers I designed, you can go check them out. A lot of it is sort of, there's some droney stuff and there's some more melodic stuff. I kind of bounce around in styles when I perform and when I make music because I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to. So it's sort of whatever mood I'm in at the moment is what I end up making. So let's see. Now we can talk about Pittsburgh Modular as a company here. This may be a little bit more interesting than my Bandcamp page. We did one event this year. We went to Super Booth, and it was a lot of fun. We showed Taiga. That was a couple months after we had released Taiga to the world. So it was a really, really cool to demo it for everybody and see the reaction to the sounds in people's faces. It was great. We also had the East Beast and the West Pest there. Now, we had those the year before, but I think they still sound really, really good and are really cool Create Audio synthesizers that definitely hold their own. The East Beast is sort of a permanent fixture in my 208 case that I use with the Synth Sentinels. It's most of the bass lines. It's all the bass lines that I do. And I typically do quite a few of the bass lines when we're playing. So that is the East Beast, and boy, does it sound really, really good. Let's see what else happened. 2023, we hired a new employee. She doesn't start until January 8th, but we hired her in 2023, so I'm putting it in here. She'll be focused on firmware almost exclusively, but some engineering in there as well. But the idea that we have someone doing firmware now, and I don't have to do all the firmware in addition to all the other stuff that I'm working on, that's really going to open me up to work on more design-focused projects. Where I figured this out the other day, I think I spend about 5 months out of the year writing software. So putting that on somebody else's plate and freeing me up is going to make a really big difference for what Pittsburgh Modular can accomplish, even as a team, because it removes probably the biggest bottleneck that we have right now. So I can't tell you how excited I am for the new employee to start in a week or so. That's really exciting. And we had lots of visitors at the shop this past year. Our shop is open. You have to make an appointment just because we're not always there. But if you're in town or stopping through town, shoot us an email. Let us know you want to come by and visit. And we're happy to meet with you, talk with you, show you around, give you a tour. If we have sort of new stuff, we're always happy to share the fun new secret stuff with people. Just get some feedback on how it sounds, or if we're working on something specifically, it's nice to have some ears on it that maybe aren't expecting it. So we like visitors. So we had a ton of visitors this past year, and it's always fun. Whether I'm hanging out with them or if Perry's hanging out with them, it's great. So this is the point in the show where I give you a message from the friends at Create Audio. And they didn't send me one. Although they did call me 30 seconds before I went live. So maybe they were going to tell me what they wanted me to say then, but I don't know. Never know. So, Create Audio. They make interesting things, but didn't want to tell you about it. Okay, so now here's a section I'm going to call Module Ideas That I Killed in 2023. Here's some modules that made it beyond the drawing board, and we had prototypes of, and actually everything here, we had panels made, 200 panels of each made, and we are not going to do them. So the first one was a huge project. It was the Mixathon and Sendathon project. Now this was a giant 2-row mixer that was 42 48 HP panels that were meant to sit on top of the other. And the bottom row was more of a standard mixer. And that mixer you've actually seen. That's what I've been using in the live streams with Herman and Bus. The Mixathon is the large mixer that I have in my case. That is the working one. The one working one. And then the Sendathon was more of an experimental mixer that was meant to be on top of that. And the idea of the Sendathon was it was basically a bunch of aux sends that could be routed in very interesting ways. And there was a ton of them. They all had VCAs tied to them. And the idea that it was a performative side of the mixer. That one we had a working prototype, but honestly, it's never been really used. What we found after we designed these, and that I used them for a while, was that there was a lot of features that were kind of just flair, things that they seemed like good ideas, but you're never going to use them. So after using this for a while, it seemed crazy to ask somebody to give me 48 HP of a case for a mixer that had a ton of features that they were never going to use. Or maybe they would use them once and then not. And what I found was there was a middle ground there between the Mixathon and the Sendathon that I could sort of condense and distill all of the use everyday features into something that was a little bit smaller than that. It was only one panel and that was, maybe 40 HP. That you could do all of the mixing that you need to do and leave all the sort of extra stuff out, the stuff that you don't really need, or you can already accomplish it in other ways with stuff that you have. So the Mixathon and the Sendathon project has been shelved and canceled, never to be done, but we are using what we learned in a future product. So it wasn't a waste. We learned a ton, but it's not going to be those things. So that's fine. The next one that I canceled, was the Bengal Tiger sequencer. This was a 28 HP. I don't know. I can't remember how big it was. It was a 16-step sequencer. And the original idea for this Bengal Tiger sequencer was it was going to be a test bed for me to try out ideas that would be later used for the Voltage Lab 2. Unfortunately, once I sort of accomplished that goal, I never finished the firmware for the Bengal Tiger, and we only had enough sliders to make about 45 of them anyway. So we did make 45 of them. We have 200 panels because that's how many panels we have to buy. But I can't see it ever coming out. With the Voltage Lab 2 now just about here, it seems wildly unnecessary. And then the last one of modules that I canceled in 2023 was the Cascading Florist. Now this is one that I had really high hopes for, Perry had really high hopes for, but once we put it together, and the idea was that it was 2 local florists and a warp circuit in between, and you could sort of create feedback loops within the 3 of them. But the reality was that the feedback loops weren't really controllable enough, and it would just swing wildly out of control almost instantly, and not in like a, hey, that's cool kind of way, in a, well, I guess I have this one sound kind of way. It wasn't great. The panel was beautiful, and it was a really interesting idea. It just didn't work. But you win some, you lose some. So that is 2023 in a nutshell. I would like to thank Ross, Perry, Danielle, Justin, the good folks at Create Audio for working with me this year and allowing me to do what I love to do. It's fantastic that I have the best team in the world to accomplish sort of whatever comes to mind, which is amazing and fantastically cool. So thank you, team, if you are watching this. I know Danielle's watching because she's in the room right behind me. I don't know if she's watching or not, actually, but she can definitely hear me just shouting at the camera. So now that we've sort of wrapped up 2023, I think we can spend a little bit of time and talk about what we have coming in 2024, because 2024 is sort of the year that I've been waiting for. Ever since I started working with Create Audio, we had this idea of where we wanted to to sort of launch from. And it feels like 2024 is the year that we finally get to that point where we're like, okay, now we're just getting started. Sort of a Taiga was kind of a teaser, and the East Beast and the West Pest were kind of teasers. But we have now the other side of that coming out in 2024, and all these are products that we've worked on for 3-4 years at this point. And I can't wait. And they're so close. So we'll talk about first what everybody asks me about. I get emails about it at least once a week or twice a week, which is the Voltage Lab 2. The Voltage Lab 2 is still a thing, despite the last email I got asking me if it exists still or not. It does exist, depending on how closely you're paying attention to this. That may be more or less true. It is in production. So it's being manufactured. Probably not right as we speak, but yes, it is in production. And we're hoping for March, April. I don't know. We'll definitely be showing it at Super Booth, which is awesome. But it'll definitely be available. And I can't wait. It's my dream synth. It's the thing that I've been thinking about ever since the second we finished the original Voltage Lab. Voltage Lab 2 has been on my mind, and this is it. It's a sort of producible version of the Voltage Lab. The biggest problem with the Voltage Lab was that we couldn't make any more because it was too complex to manufacture. That was us just sort of not understanding the tolerances that we could get away with. So the Voltage Lab 2 was larger, allowing us to make something that is manufacturable for a long period of time. So when we do announce it, it'll be available until people don't want to buy it anymore. But I can't wait. It sounds so good and has some really, really interesting new analog ideas in it. In sort of every section, we've tried to innovate in the analog domain in ways that maybe people haven't been doing for a long time. So I can't wait to get it out there. The next thing we have coming up in 2024 is we have another new synth. This is another Pittsburgh Modular synth. This one is finished. It's actually, production is done, and it's sitting at the distribution center, ready to go. We sort of got caught up in the end of the year problem where you can't really release anything in late November, December. So we just said, you know what, let's hold off, and we will give ourselves a little bit of time to breathe, and then we can go. So it should be coming out in, I think, the second week of February. Don't quote me on that. But it's cool. Right now I'm currently working on a launch video with the help of Bus Crates, which is always fantastically fun. He wrote a killer track for the soundtrack that is just awesome. And Herman helped us record it, and we used his studio for filming. So thank you, Herman. And we had so much fun that day. It was really, really cool. I'm also finishing up the manual at the moment. Let's see. Yep, that covers that thing. I can't say anything else about it. It's going to be a bit of a surprise, but it's cool. And another Pittsburgh Modular instrument that I've been talking about now for a little while is the drum machine. I haven't been secretive about that. I've been working on a drum machine. Obviously, we did the drum modules, so we are planning and we're working on a drum machine. The second hardware revision is at the workshop now. It's when we go, right this week we're in what I call sort of lo-fi mode, where everyone sort of has the week off, but we're still answering support and we're still shipping. But for the most part, I'm trying to give everyone at the shop a down week here at the end of the year. But when we get back on the 2nd, I guess, the 3rd, whatever, Tuesday, whatever day that is, Perry's going to start digging into the analog side of that. And I will be working with the new firmware designer to help them piece together enough firmware to sort of do testing. Because the firmware on that, I wrote the entire drum machine firmware, but we changed microprocessors between revisions. So it all sort of needs transferred over. So it's a little bit of work, but I have very, very high hopes for the drum machine. Will it be 2024? If it is, it'll be the end of the year. I suspect what'll happen to that is the same sort of thing that happened to this other synth that we were working on, where it'll be ready, but it'll be too late in the year and it'll get bumped to early 2025. But we'll see. High hopes. I got high hopes. That is the instruments for 2024 that we have sort of cooking at the moment. I am working on 3 new Create audio instruments, but I'm not allowed to talk about them, so I'm not going to. Except that Herman is absolutely obsessed with one of them. And just absolutely loves it. And it's the one that'll be available the soonest out of the 3. But Herman he just loves this thing. And I think, fair enough, it sounds really, really good. And it's really fun to use. So there is some really cool Create Audio stuff coming in 2024 that, again, I'm not allowed to talk about. They get mad at me. And we don't need that. 2024 modules. Let's talk about that. What do we got for modules? Well, we have the Local Parks. Local Parks is an oscillator based off of one sort of maybe a superset, subset. It's sort of picks and chooses from the 2 oscillators in the Voltage Lab 2. The Voltage Lab 2 has 2 oscillators. Each one they're both full-sized oscillators with their own set of tools, but they're very different. And the Local Parks sort of picks a little bit from each of them. It was inspired by, I'm reading my notes now. It's inspired by the VL2 and the Narwhal cymbal module. And I liked how in the Narwhal we had some like digital ring modulators and that type of thing in there. So I've incorporated some of that because the Local Parks is sort of really interesting in how it works with square waves. So there's a lot of binary things in there that sound really, really nice. Things like we have, obviously it's going to have pulse width, but it also has pulse shift, which I can only describe as a variable height step in the pulse wave. That doesn't make any sense. It's fine. The Local Parks will be available January 9th. We've had them in the shop now for a while. We've been testing them up, getting them ready to go. Ross has been working on that, doing a killer job. So I think January 9th is a good time as any. So that's when that will be up and running. We are working on a new analog delay. Analog delays are something that I'm sort of obsessed with. I love BBD delays. And I felt like it was time to do a new one So what we're going to do is we're going to use, we decided to go all in on this one and use the expensive chips. So we're going to use the new X5 BBD chips. They are expensive, but they sound so good. We're going to use 4 of them in the new module. It's going to be called the Cascading Delay 2. And again, you'll be able to play with feedback loops, and you can use it as a stereo delay, or as one long mono delay or 2 independent delays, and you can sort of bounce feedback between them in interesting ways. That'll be later this year, but boy, I can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. And the panel for that one looks really nice too. It has a flower on it. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was, and this is, I'm looking for feedback on this, so please don't hesitate to put it in the comments or put it in the chat what you think is a new filter. Now, if you sort of go with the naming of the filters, we started with the Crow, and this last one was the Filter of Crows. So it's the natural next module is the Murder of Crows. But that sort of implies that there's going to be more than one filter. And so, and I've drawn this up 10 or 12 different ways at this point. And what I found is that sure, you can do stereo and you can chain them, but I don't see any advantage to doing 2 filters behind one panel that you can't just do with 2 modules. Like everything that I could do with multiple filters behind a panel, I can do with 2 modules sitting side by side. Yeah, I can control the cutoff the same way. I can do all that stuff, using CV and whatnot. So I'm not really sold on the idea of a big double filter. It doesn't interest me that much. So we do have another instrument, another synth that definitely not 2024. This is a 2025 synth, but we've expanded the filter on that one quite a bit, where it has multiple voicings that gives you, I think we call them flavors. I can't remember. But you have the low pass, band pass, and high pass, and then the combinations of those. But then there's also different characters types that you can use as well. Each different character type gives the filter a different sound, like a different vibe to it. And they can all be changed and mixed in different ways. So I thought instead of like a double filter that is a Murder of Crows, it could be just this new filter concept, because it has multiple sounds, multiple characters. That fits Murder of Crows, right? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm still not sure what to do with that yet. But if we can nail it, that'll definitely be 2024, because people like our filters, they sell out pretty quickly. So my goal is to try to do something interesting every year or so with a filter. So I definitely want to do a filter in 2024. I just want to make sure that it's not only it's interesting to me, but interesting to everybody else as well. So that is my whole list of items I was going to go through here. The next thing is Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, I haven't looked at the chat at all. So if you've shouted questions at me at the chat, I didn't see them. I apologize. But if you at Pittsburgh Modular in the chat now, I will answer a few questions and we will go from there. I was hoping to do this. This would take about 20 minutes, and I'm only 15 minutes over at this point, but that's okay. Just to be clear about the filter, the new filter isn't a different filter. We're expanding on the filter core that we have. So all the sounds that you can get out of the Pittsburgh filter can be had in this new filter, but we've now added additional voicings to it. So there you go. Any chance at better financing on Sweetwater site for us poor folks? Financing, short terms, high amount are rough. I don't know. That's basically how the financing at Sweetwater works is we end up paying for it, as in Pittsburgh Modular. And because we don't handle that anymore, all that goes through Create Audio now. I suspect that Create Audio doesn't want to pay that, because what it does is it just reduces the margins for everybody. So, but I don't know. I'm going to guess no, that's not going to happen. How many HP is the new BBD delay going to be? Bill Smith asks. It is going to be 16, 14, something like that. I can't. It's been a few weeks since I looked at it. But it's in that range. 12 to 16. Let's go with that. Because it is essentially, it's smaller than the cascading delay network was. This one doesn't use sliders. But it's not a skinny module. How's the new delay compared to Taiga? They're very different. The new delay uses different BBD chips, so it has a different characteristic all. And because we're using 4 chips, we get a lot more time out of it. The delay in Taiga is really meant to be to add atmosphere and space to a sound. So you can use it. Works great for chorusy sounds and for slapback stuff, where the new module will be designed for longer delay times and for more traditional delay effects. Yoda says, I remember you saying that the Voltage Lab 2 is its own instrument. Will it still be your rack format to rack up the case? How many HP are the instrument and sequencer? The Voltage Lab 2 is your rack. It is 2 rows. The sequencer is 1 module, and the Voltage Lab 2 voice is a second module. Each one is 90 HP. So it's big. It's sort of, we are stretching the limits of the size of what a Eurorack module should be, I think, at this point. But it is 2 rows of 90 HP. I heard you talk about a new employee. Do you have any opportunities for volunteers, internships, part-time? Not at this point. This is the first employee that we've hired in like 7 years. I want to say 6, 7 years, something like that. We don't take new employees very lightly. We are a very tight crew, so adding someone new to that is something that we spend a lot of time overthinking. And we have had interns in the past, although the way we work, it's difficult to, and because we're so small, it's difficult to really find things for them to do. So we don't have any opportunities at the moment, but you never know. Will we ever create a reverb module? Sure. Michael drew up, I asked Michael for a spring reverb circuit 7 years ago, 8 years ago, a long time ago. And last year, I finally pulled it out and went over it with Michael to be included as part of something else. The problem with doing a spring reverb module is I think the ones out there are all pretty good. We have a nice tilt circuit and we have a nice drive circuit in ours, but I don't see a huge market for it. So I don't know if we'll do a module or not, but maybe. I would kind of like one, but I don't know. Is Stakes still on the horizon? Yes. The new coder that I hired earlier in 2023, I asked her to rewrite the because I'd never finished the firmware for Snakes. So I asked her to rewrite Snakes from scratch. And that was sort of what determined whether I was going to offer her a job or not. Now, I did pay her for that, just sort of as a one-off gig. But she did a real nice job. And so that will be coming. It won't be coming out on the 9th, but it will be coming out early, probably in the next month or so, I would guess. That's another one. We have 200 of those finished. Just waiting for the firmware to go on the Arduinos on the back. And we just have a little bit more testing to do to make sure it's rock solid. How different will the new cascading delay 2 be from the original cascading delay? They will be completely different. The cascading delay network, the original one, used an old karaoke reverb chip for the delay. It's called the PT2399 chip, designed for karaoke machines to add reverb. This is also, it's used in a ton of guitar pedals, and I think there's some Eurorack modules that use it as well. I wasn't a huge fan. It has this sort of what's the set, like an airiness to it, a wispiness to it that I was not a huge fan of. It's not a BBD, so it doesn't sound like a BBD, and I sort of hold that against it, probably unfairly, but I do. So the new Cascading Delay 2 is for high-end BBDs. So it should sound absolutely brilliant and not like the Cascading Delay Network or even the analog delay module or any of the other delays that we've done in the past, because the circuits are entirely different. Let's see, did I miss anything here? Regarding the filter, about one... How about one kind of like the Mannequin's Three Sisters or Make Noise Q-Pass, multiple peaks, etc.? Again, what I kind of feel about that stuff is anytime you put stereo in analog, you're really just dealing with two. So if you want to create a stereo effect, or if you want to have a filter with multiple peaks, you can do that with the monophonic single channel. You just use two of them, and that you have then infinite flexibility in how you route them and how you do that. And I do like how multiple peaks sound using multiple filters run in series. I like how that sounds a lot, but I can already do that. So I don't know if that needs, I don't know if that warrants a large module. I don't know. I'm not sold on it, unfortunately. Herman adds that Flight of Harmony used the PT chip on their delay. And I think theirs was called Sound of Shadows, which I think is a really good name for what the PT chip sounds like. Um, Sounds of Shadows is a that module was cool. Herman had that one for a long time, and it did. What Flight did with that was he sort of allowed it to go wildly out of the usable range, and you could get some very strange effects out of it. I did like that, but it still had that wispiness sound to it. That if you're hoping for a BBD like sound, you can never quite get it. How do you go about deciding whether a module will fall under the flower scheme or animal safari theme? Um, there's no rhyme or reason. I did say to the guys a few weeks ago that we're not going to do any more safari modules. We're not going to put any more animals on our modules. Doesn't mean they're all going to have flowers on them. I don't know what we're going to do next, but I feel like we did the safari thing for a couple years, and that was fun. But maybe, because we're only doing limited edition modules now, we don't have a line of modules. I think we can do something else that's a little bit of fun for a while. So we'll find out. We'll probably find out with the filter, or we'll find out with. No, I guess the analog delay does have flowers on it. So the filter is the only one that doesn't have a pan yet because I don't know what it's going to be. All right, so if anybody has another question, otherwise I'm going to clean up my dining room and call it a live stream. Will the colorful panels be a permanent thing now? Yes. The panels are always going to be, because we can do colorful knobs, I am going to incorporate color into design. Excuse me. I am going to incorporate color into the designs. It just seems like a natural fit because I can do crazy colored knobs, can do crazy colored panels. But like I did with Taiga, with the other new instruments, it's not as wild as, maybe some of the Safari modules are. So sort of depending on the size of it, I like doing the crazy modules because I feel like it's one little module. You can sort of treat it like a guitar pedal, and it can have a character of its own. Where in instruments, I use color to help sort of guide the user to aid in understanding how the instrument works. So maybe a little bit different design philosophy on how I use color, but I'm definitely going to keep using color. Any more solo streams or patch labs in the future? I would love to do more than that stuff. This past year, I have been absolutely crushed. Like I said, I spent 5 months coding. So what I'm hoping is that once this new employee is off and running, I will have time to do a weekly or a bi-weekly patch lab, because I think patch labs are really important for a few different reasons. One is it just gives me an opportunity to use the stuff in a context that maybe I should do more of. And sort of talking it through as I do it allows me to maybe understand it myself a little bit more. And also allows me to get feedback in real time via the chat, which is all things that I absolutely love. Unfortunately, those live streams take a lot of time that I didn't have this past year. So fingers crossed, once we get 2024 kicked into high gear here, I will have more time to spend with you guys hanging out patching, because it's a lot of fun, and I hope to do as much of it as possible. Chip Burge, going with Chip Burge. I love my Taiga so much. Any chance we can get an update that makes the ADSR a little bit more even throughout the range? There's a few mods you can do. Hardware mods, not software mods. If it's something that you don't enjoy the way it works, you can send it in to us. We can mod it. It's not a big deal. Or if you're familiar with how to use the soldering iron, we can send you the couple little changes. Basically, you can shape the potentiometers with resistors. So if you throw a resistor between the pins of the potentiometer, you can change the curve from linear to exponential, and you can sort of force it to change how the range works. If that's something you're interested in, we are willing to help out. But it is a hardware change. We don't have any... it's interesting. The ADSRs on the Taiga is interesting because that's something that we've used those exact ADSR circuits for a long time. We've used them in every ADSR module that we've had. We've used them in the SV1, and we used it in the microvolt, and we never changed it. So maybe it's because the Taiga is reaching a larger, different audience. But the feedback for Taiga was really surprising because it hasn't changed. And we never had any feedback about the curves or the response of the envelopes in any of our previous products. So happy to help you make Taiga more what you want it to be. Yeah, email us. Bill Smith still wants a microvolt someday, so if someone could send him one, that would be great. So yeah, I think that is 2023 wrapped up, 2024 wrapped up. If anybody saw this thing back here. Otherwise, thank you very much, everybody, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.